Good morning. This is a demo of the beta of Office 365 for Labtech, available at pluginsforlabtech.com. You come in here, you can see that. That's where we go, pluginsforlabtech.com. Come down here to Office 365 and select it. You can go to the support site, and from here you can download the latest beta version. If you look here, we have installation instructions that talk about unlocking the DLL after download and installing it into Labtech and all the processes that need to take place to make sure that you get your plugin installed into your Labtech system. Once you have the plugin installed into the Labtech system, you should be able to access the plugin through the View menu. You'll find it here under Office 365 for Labtech. Go ahead and open that up. When you first launch it, you'll notice that you have no data, no information whatsoever. This is because we haven't set up any clients to be scanned for Office 365 data. So for us to do that, we need to go into a client and set that client to have an Office 365 account. To do that, we're going to go into the password section of that client. We're going to create a new entry. That new entry, we'll call it Office 365. Put in our username, our URL, which is going to be our tenant name. And in this case, that's our tenant name and our password. All right, and save that. Once we've saved that, it should have an entry in here. It looks like this. We can go ahead and close this out. Also close out our Office 365 window, and now come back and relaunch our Office 365 window. Give it a second here as it loads up. Now you'll notice here that this one loaded up, and it loaded up with data already. You are not going to load this way. I have been running this plugin back and forth several times, and so we have data in the database still from our previous scan. So this data is just relevant to this particular client. So we do already have data there. You would not have any data at this point in time. So let's go talk about getting data going. So to get data going, once we have clients in our client list, we need to come over and set up the scanner. So come up here and click on our icon, our graphic there. And when you do, it opens up our configuration window. And you can see here our configuration window. We have nothing configured. We currently have one client set up. So we need to set up and configure a scanner. All right, a scanner requires several PowerShell modules to be installed directly from Microsoft for Azure and Skype, as well as SharePoint. So what we do is we supply those modules here for deployment automatically through Labtech. You can deploy it to any system supported by the modules. Modules that are expecting a Windows system, Windows 7 through Windows 2012 or Windows 10, 64-bit. So in this list, you'll find all the machines across your MSP that fit that schedule. All right. What this allows you to do is, one, it allows you to select a machine that you want to act as your full-time scanner for Office 365. What this does is it tells the scanner it's going to be responsible twice a day for collecting data for all the clients for Office 365 and bringing that back into Labtech, as well as it's responsible for all commands that a technician is going to issue to Office 365 plugin to manage any particular client. So it has the potential to do a lot of work, but honestly, we've been running this for quite a while now, and we find that it's very low-key. The twice-a-day scans usually take only about 5 or 10 minutes to get through the whole process. The commands that are sent down by the employees that are managing your clients are typically one-off, very simple commands that take just a second or two to complete. So you're not going, unless you have a team of engineers constantly in Office 365 clicking all the time, you're not going to put a lot of load on the end machine that you're going to be using as the Office 365 scanner. we do provide you every machine across your organization. We don't know which machine you want to use as the scanner. Typically, we'd expect that you would be using a machine of your own with inside Client 1 of Labtech. To as a management machine that you would set up to provide that service for you. It doesn't have to be a dedicated machine. It could be a machine that's an Active Directory server or some other type of server or machine that has the availability to just be a Windows machine, 64-bit, that can do the scans twice a day. All right. So in here, let's go ahead and pick ourselves out a machine to do that. I'm going to select Squid Server here because that's just the server that we use. All right, I'm going to select him as our scanner, and I am going to now deploy modules to that scanner. So I'm going to set it as the scanner, or actually deploy the modules first. Go ahead and move right down the list here. So first thing we'll do is pick the scanner. Let's deploy the modules. We're going to let the modules go here. You can see here it's actually live working on going out and checking the system for modules. Now, I've previously used this system for scanning, so it's going to probably find the modules already there. Otherwise, if it found that the modules did not exist, it would go ahead and auto-install those for you, and it would display that information right here as it goes through displaying those. And as you can see, I was correct. It did find the module already. So it sees that we have Azure. It's going to go check for SharePoint, make sure that we have all the modules that we need to do our scans. Give that another second here. Let's see what it comes up with the other modules. There we go. Excellent. And it's quit now. So there we go. It's found versions for both modules. It's good shape. So we've deployed modules. Modules are good. We can now set as scanner. And it's gone out. It knows that it's going back and checking again to make sure now that we've set it as a scanner, it's going to go back and verify that the modules actually exist. If not, it'll mark the modules red here and will prompt you to reinstall the modules. But since we already tested it, we know that the modules are there and exist. So we'll let it go through its module test again here real quick. Now, we also provide you with the ability to select what you want to scan. Typically, you would scan everything, but there may be some cases where you want to skip a particular scan set, something you don't care about, or it's causing you trouble. So if you needed, for some reason, to reduce the load on that server and have it do less work, you can come in here and define what you want it to scan. Typically, this would be everything. So we're going to let go. There it goes. Now, you can do one-off scans here of clients. Whenever you click this button, it will go off and tell this scanner to go off and scan based on what you have currently selected. So we could do something like this really quick. Scan clients and let that thing go off and do its thing. And it's only going to scan this. So we're actively scanning now. It's going to go off and do its scans. We can cancel the scan at any time. All we have to do is just click this cancel client scan button, and it'll cancel the scan in progress. But we'll sit here and we'll monitor the scan as it goes off and does it. Since we're doing it in a manual mode, it's going to display here what it's actually doing and when it's doing it. So give it a second here to let itself run. It's going out now and verifying that all the prerequisites for a scan are available on the scanner. So it's doing some verifications and directory verifications, script verifications and such, that all the information needed to scan the Azure AD is available. And once it gets that information, it finds that out, it will start printing out other things here that it's going through and doing. So just give it a few minutes here while it works through that scan. Let's see what happens here with that. Let's see what data we get picked up. Okay, it's validated script folders are there. Let's take a look at what it's going to do next. Now it's uploading our Office 365 scripts to the end system there to execute, to make sure that we get correct data back and we know what data we're asking for. Okay, and now we're going through starting to scan clients. As you can see, we're scanning one of one client. See how this turns out. If we had a failed password, that notice will come up here. So this is a great way to check your clients to make sure that your client scanner is going to be able to scan all your clients without any errors or issues, is by coming in here and running through all the scans manually to see what the printout is. If at any time a failure takes place in a scan, that output will be here. And as you can see, there we go. We have had a failure. Client has a password or username that's incorrect. So we put in the wrong password in our Office 365 account. I actually did that on purpose, just so that you could see that. Let's go back and change it. Passwords. Excellent. And then here, let's go ahead and put the last character in there like we should. Excellent. Okay. So now that's taken care of. We can come back here and let's do scan clients again. So this time it should come back and scan accurately. All right, it's validated our script folder is available. Okay, it's firing up the scripts that are needed. Now keep in mind that this would actually go probably a little faster. If we were to kick this machine into fast talk, it would probably respond a little bit quicker to the commands that we're sending down to it. But since we're not currently setting this machine directly into fast talk, you'll see here that it takes a little bit longer occasionally for those commands to get through. Now we're doing several commands at once, so there's several things taking place here. We just fired up our execute, so we're now scanning our first client. So give that a second here to scan. Let's see what we get here. So at this point, we are actually doing a query out to Office 365 through this machine for this client and all the MSOL data that we can collect from the Azure Active Directory. So you can imagine, based on the size of the client, its Active Directory connections back and forth to Office 365. This process can take just a minute or so, so it shouldn't be very long. There it goes. Excellent. And it now passes without a password issue, and we are updating Labtech with our information. And you'll notice that our symbols are now gone. Our clock has stopped counting. We are finished with the scan since we only had one client. That scan shows this date now, so here's our date. You can see when I've scanned, what time of day it is that I did the last scan, and make each one of these, I only did the Active Directory. So now that we have it like this, we need to go and turn on everybody, because we're going to scan for everything for all our clients. We're also going to need to turn the scanner on. So select that to turn the scanner on. Now, we also have a couple other items here that we can do scanning for. All right. Without this on, we're not going to collect data. So you need to make sure you have the scanner turned on once you have it configured and you have validated that you are updating Labtech correctly with a scan. That shows that you have correct information in your clients and that your clients are being able to be processed correctly. Once you have that functionality going and you know that that's working, you can rescan for MSOL statuses, which is basically collecting the Microsoft Online statuses for the current systems that are hosting the Office 365 for that particular client. We go ahead and click that. And again, this is passing commands off to our scanner to actually execute for us. So nothing is being executed on the technical or the tech's machine, the engineer's machine, to make Office 365 happen. This is all happening through the one scanner you've selected to manage Office 365 for you. Give this a minute to go off and pull that status for us, and we'll see how long it takes here with the counter for that to take place. Okay, you can see here that we've gone through the process of setting the scanner up for the particular scan that we want to do, verifying all the information is accurate and updates that we can perform the scan correctly. And then we're going through our client list and actually performing the scan on each client. Okay, and there we are. We get updated Labtech, which means everything worked fine, and we've got data for that now. And so we've now updated all the MSLO statuses for across our client base. Same thing with rescan OFS statuses. OFS, out of office assistant scans. You can rescan for out of office. This is also happens during these scans here. They're just not included. These scans are part of the Azure AD. Go ahead and scan out of office, give you an idea of what to expect from there. Now these, again, we're all doing manual scans right now. This is not something that you have to do. This is just to show you how this works, and gives you the availability to test that your settings are accurate prior to just putting it into production and running away and forgetting about it. This kind of gives you an out-of-the-box check, a sanity check, that all the scans are going to work correctly and that the client data is being piped back to you. If you have any clients that are having particular issues with Office 365 access, they'll kind of appear here in this window with different errors that you might expect to see. Typically, you won't see any errors unless you fail to update a password correctly or a user doesn't exist. But otherwise, these are just manual scans that allow you to kind of test the functionality of the plugin and fill it up quickly without having to wait some period of time for the scanner to pick up and actually go through its daily scans that it would normally do. Because if you install at 8 a.m., the next scan may be not until 5 o'clock that afternoon. So you would sit all day long without any data in your plugin and not able to go any further using it without having some level of scan taking place. So you can manually kind of force that scan initially to get started, get your data going and making sure you got data populating inside your plugin, and then allow the automation to take over from that point moving forward. You'll notice here a current theme. Every time a manual scan of any type is requested, we go through validating certain options and feature sets inside the scanner before placing that scanner into scan mode. And so that's what's taking that first minute or so, is for us going through and verifying about 5 or 6 different commands to go through and verify that we have everything we need to move forward with the scan prior to trying to actually perform the scan. All right, we are now going and processing our client base. Let that finish here. And again, just to give you some information here, each of these buttons will scan or allow you to cancel a scan in progress. So if you get in the middle of a scan and you have a lot of customers and it seems to be taking a little while and you want to quit, you can always cancel out of an active scan that's taking place, and that will stop the scan moving forward. Should be completing here any second. There we go. All right, awesome. We have now gone through each of the manual scans available. We have not done the Exchange Group, and SharePoint scan included with the main scan that we did here of Scan Clients. We only did the Azure, but that was just to do a quick test to go through to verify that our clients were set up correctly and that we had no failing passwords. As you saw, I was able to find that I had a bad password, went and reset the password, everything worked from that point forward. Lastly, in this particular window, you get your license valid date. So you'll notice here we're valid through July 31st, 2016. Everybody currently using this plugin up until that date will get free use of this plugin for the up until that date, as it's in open beta. If you do find any problems or issues or concerns, or would like to have feature requests, feel free to reach out to us at support at pluginsforlabtech.com and send us that information. We'll be more than happy to read over it and see what we need to do to get either your resolution done or maybe get that feature you like in there. Go ahead and close this out now that we've got this all set up and ready. At this point, our plugin should be fully functional. So let's take a look at it here. We'll go ahead and close that out. I'm going to close my plugin window out and reopen it just to give you a fresh look. Yeah, I'll give it a second here to open up. There we go. Excellent. Here's our plugin, and you'll notice that all our information is current. So there was our current probe date, which is right now, versus our last created on date. So you can see these dates are different. So we can see that we probed recently. Here's our last dir sync, last password sync, last dir sync, and password sync for the user that we have selected. So you'll notice here, when we come in and we select Plugins for Labtech as our company, our user list will populate with that list of users based on that company. Now we can go through and select user by user, and as we do, user areas of all these tabs will fill in with user data. So Exchange tab, we select somebody that has an Exchange mailbox, and that Exchange mailbox information will be displayed here. You'll notice here that all Office replies are disabled. I have 205 mail items in my mailbox. We've got a mailbox quota size, our current size of 1.4 megs. We got a max quota of 50 gigs. And here's our send and receive size relative to the size of mail we're allowed to send in a single shot. Since we've just fired up this data, you're going to notice down here, I don't have any real data points listed here. So the last data point would be our last scan, which is currently yesterday's scan. The scan hasn't taken place again. And what happens is here is what we're going to see is over a period of time, you're going to start to be able to track the flow size of the mailbox down here. So you'll get a nice graph down here of the mailbox. And currently you can see as my first data point, I have 205 mails in it. As this thing grows over time, we're going to see those dates and that growth grow here. So we're going to be able to see kind of what the user is doing relative to its mailbox and the mailbox flow. We can, and since we're under the Exchange tab, we have the availability to convert this person to a shared mailbox. We can grant send on behalf of, if we click this, you'll get a little pop-up window, and you can select somebody that you want to allow to have send on grant on behalf of access to. All right, select that person and hit save, and we're not going to do it on my mailbox right here, but it'll go out basically and open up another console. Let's actually do a little piece of this. Let's do something that's going to be a little less disturbing. Let's go in here and reset password for this user. All right, so for S. Anderson, we're going to reset the user password. All right, we're going to get a password box that pops up. Okay, give me the password. You want to reset the password here. All right, save that password, and we'll get a terminal box that pops up. And in this terminal box, it's going out and executing that reset password command against the scanner. And you're seeing it here. So don't close this window out. Go ahead and let it do its thing. You got a little terminal window that's going to tell you everything it's doing at the scanner level. So it's going off to the scanner, and it's going to go through and execute everything needed to reset this user's password at Office 365. Typically takes right at about a minute. So we're about halfway through. A second here, it should be finishing up any second. Passing parameters, okay. Updating Labtech. It's taking a little longer than we expected. Let's see what's going on here. There it goes. Okay, just like I said, typically, then sometimes the scanner is not set in fast talk mode, and if it's not actively being used, which that server is really a dummy server just sitting out there for me, it's not responding as fast as I'd expect it to. Typically, in our test beds, we've been getting about a minute to a minute and a half. This one took us almost 2.5 minutes to get it to happen, but it actually took place and it's been updated. So now the password's been reset for that user, and it took me 2 minutes and 27 seconds to complete that process. Once that's done, we can close the window down and we've reset the password. Each of these functions has that pop-up window that will pop up and provide you what it's doing from the scanner's perspective as you go through it. You can create new groups and add users to groups. You can also delete members from group by coming over and selecting that group. In this particular instance, you can double click to remove the user from the group. It'll pop up and ask you, are you sure you want to remove the member from the group? Yes or no. If you select yes, it will go through the same process of deleting that user from the group. Same thing with adding and creating new groups, and same thing with deleting groups. If you needed to get rid of a group over here, you can come and click on that group. When you click on that group, it'll ask you if you want to remove the group, yes or no. You can remove users from that group or add users to that group. Select the user you want to add. You want to add a user to the group. It should pop up and ask you for a user. You say, I want Bob Bangarang. All right, so I'm going to put Bob Bangarang into this particular group. If I did that, it'll go through the same exact process. It'll open up a little command window to the scanner, and we'll go through executing that process for you. Exchange mailboxes, same thing. Select a user that has a mailbox. You'll get mailbox information. At any time, you're able to add or change or modify information about that user's mailbox. You're able to add access permissions as well as grant on behalf of permissions and see those accesses here listed in this window and this window. Under SharePoint, we have the availability of showing all the SharePoint sites that are currently available for this client. All the SharePoint information relative to quotas. Now, I don't particularly have a SharePoint site set up, but we could add one if we wanted to. We could add new groups to a site, so we could take a group and add those groups to that site. We could select groups that are already here and see what users are in those groups, and we can add users in and out of those groups so that we can increase the size of a group or reduce the size of a group, reduce the group completely from the system, or add groups to the system, add groups to sites. In our licensing side, you'll be able to go and select our licenses, see how much is being consumed, see all the service plans that are available with each license that the client might have, and the client might have multiples. And then when we select a license, we can then see all the people that are part of that license plan. Okay. MSOL statuses are the statuses provided by Office 365 about its products and services that it's hosting. So you'll notice here that we will get event IDs, date, timestamps, events, and statuses on things that are taking place at Office 365. Select a status, and that status gives you all the notes about that status here, so that you can read all about what Microsoft is doing to fix or resolve a particular problem that you might be having. This makes for a great tool, and when clients are complaining or are reporting to you that they're having issues, you can quickly come here and know that you're looking at statuses that are relatively fresh. If you need to refresh this, you can always refresh the status here, and it will go through telling the scanner to go back and collect current latest versions of all the MSOL statuses so that you get an updated status. In the Azure group here, you'll notice that we have a lot of little green and red dots available to us. If you highlight over these, if they come up with a little pop-up, you'll notice that that will actually give you an option to set something. So we can come here and click on this dot and change whether or not passwords never expire. We can also change whether license reconciliation is needed or not. Or, sorry, no, that is starting. Since we hover over it, nothing pops up as a type of service like we have there, that it pops up, sets whether or not a user password will expire. You'll notice here this one doesn't pop up anything when we hover over it, and that's because it has no function. But as soon as we hover over something, it does have a function, it should pop up. And if you see that it has a function pop up like that, that means this actually does something. You can click on this, and when you do, it will revert or toggle this particular item on and off. Right? A user might be blocked. Let's say a user failed to log in correctly multiple times, and so they locked out or blocked their account. Quite common when with users that are at times, and so you'll find that they'll forget their passwords that they used for a particular service that they've reset it just recently and forgot what they reset it to, and they block their account out. Again, you hover over this, and you can see that first off, the user, Shannon Anderson, is not currently blocked out of his account. Otherwise, you select the user, and it would either be green or red based on that user being blocked or not blocked. If that user is blocked, you can unblock that user just by clicking the button here. So just click the icon, the little green dot. It'll pop up and tell you, oh, you want to unblock? Yep, okay. It will go through and start the process of unblocking. Over here in the company area, this is user area, this is company area. You'll notice that these are company settings. They're sync enabled. Hover over it, it pops up. When green, directory sync will be turned on. So we can turn on and off directory sync here. We can turn on and off password sync here. We can turn off the ability whether or not line of business apps are available and enabled. We can the availability for users to create groups, or turn on or off self-serve password resets. We can update the company information and company contact information. We can update users and user information. We can create new users. All right? We can also delete users. We have the availability of opening up a shell for this client or any client that you would select directly to Office 365, which is a great tool if you're a PowerShell whiz and love to play around in PowerShell. Go ahead and click that, and you'll notice here it will open up a PowerShell window. It will pass everything it's needed, including the client information to log into the Office 365 client straight to your console. So you don't have to do anything. It will load all your modules for you, making sure that you have all the modules needed to manage Office 365 are included in your shell. So you can see here it's going through and loading all these different modules. And then it pops in and tells you, okay, you are ready to go, and you can start using your shell. So we can do stuff like, now we're directly connected to Office 365. So we can do stuff like get MSOL user, all right, as an example. When we do that, bam, we get all our users right there instantly. So we can see right away, are we our users licensed? Who's licensed? And get some information about what's going on in our system. We can do complex things like complex commands where we're going to go through and query the number of users based off of some flag that is set. So we want to pull some data based on a certain user. We maybe have an Office 365 script we want to run. We could go queue that script up right here, just point it to the location of the script and execute. And it's going to execute it inside the Office 365 environment. So you're now able to execute commands and scripts of your own design directly in Office 365 without having to go fumble around looking for what user account I need to use to access that client, where the URL is at, do I have to operate or create something, open up PowerShell, load files, load modules, things of that nature, and deal with all that. It's just a one-click operation now. You want to access that client's Office 365 account through PowerShell, click and go. The only thing that is mandatory is that you have your modules installed to your workstation, which can be done, again, by selecting your workstation out of this list and deploying the modules to your workstation. That will give you the power of the open shell and allow you to do things like this. We can close this session out. And that is basic overview of the Office 365 as it currently stands today. We've left a lot of space in here throughout each of the tabs. You'll notice we've got plenty of real estate here. We're going to be adding a lot more features as we move forward. If you have certain features you might find useful, feel free to put them on our forums at support.pluginsforlabtech.com. There is an Office 365 forum there. Feel free to post any problems that you might be having or experiencing, any ideas you'd like to see in future releases, or if you'd just like to talk about it. Feel free to reach out to us, let us know how everything's going, and have a nice day.